I don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
Hi, this is Chip Franklin. Following breaking news, the Supreme Court has ruled in a 6-3 decision that DOJ can access highly sensitive Social Security information in their purposes for reducing government waste and adding to government efficiency. Maybe you would like to know, who is DOJ now that Trump is gone? Well, the track record's not good. Do you remember this guy named Marco Elise? He was a 25-year-old who had previously worked on Musk's SpaceX projects. He was fired for now deleted social media accounts that post incendiary comments that were racist. And then Vance said the same day that this surfaced, what did Vance say? He said, the young employee should be given a second chance. Again, the account connected to Mr. Elise's file, reported by the Wall Street Journal, posted a variety of these inflammatory comments that were verified by the BBC as authentic. He wrote, one of them was, just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. Another post said, you cannot pay me to marry outside my ethnicity. This is somebody that was brought into DOJ. Are there more of these people in there? And are they getting access to your Social Security data? What can they do with that? A lot.
Coming in from the Supreme Court, CNN's senior Supreme Court analyst, Joan Biskupic, here with the latest details. Joan, good to see you. What are we learning?
Well, the Trump administration has just gotten 2 wins from the Supreme Court, and both of them involve Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOJ. In the first one, the Supreme Court is allowing DOJ access to sensitive Social Security Administration information. You know, the Social Security Administration has so much personal information on all of us, our Social Security numbers, our bank account numbers, all sorts of records, date of birth. And DOJ had said that it needed access to this material for part of its efforts to modernize government systems. And a lower court had blocked that. And now the Supreme Court is lifting that block and allowing DOJ to have access to that. 3 justices dissented. They were the 3 liberals, Justices Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. And what Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote was, this will hand DOJ staffers highly sensitive data of millions of Americans. Separately, by the same 6-3 vote, Casey, the justices also paused a lower court order that had allowed access to DOJ materials under, like, the Freedom of Information Act. There had been a watchdog group was suing DOJ, trying to get information about its people and its activities, and was seeking documents and discovery. And the Supreme Court has paused that effort now, again, by the same split, with the 3 liberals breaking off and the conservative majority, again, handing Donald Trump a double win and DOJ a double win today, too.
Let's talk about the 6-3 decision and what that means, because it really doesn't fit into what Republicans and conservatives have said in the past. Less government interference in our lives, and especially in something extremely important to Americans, which is this social safety net of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. But let's go back again one more time and talk about what DOJ has done. If you have a problem with a deficit, there's 2 ways to approach this. One is what the Department of Government Efficiency espouses, which is, we're going to look into government and see if we can make it more efficient. Nobody has a problem with that, I don't think, right? I mean, yeah. Or do we have 16 people doing the jobs that 4 people could actually pull off? Does that mean you go in and fire 12 people, though? No. You obviously, you can, depending on where they are in their career. If they just started out, you put them someplace else. If they are near the end of their career, near retirement, then they retire, and then you don't hire another person to do that. This isn't hard. The Department of Government Efficiency, DOJ, their responsibility is, number one, and always has to be, is to serve the people. I played this, and I played it before, and I should probably play it again. This is important to understand. One of the first things DOJ did was this.
I think we're very close to that. I wonder whether the president really even knows, the extent of what has been done. Remember that night that he was taken by helicopter to Walter Reed? Mm-hmm. He was having difficulty breathing. He had COVID. He was very sick. Right? He was given 2 monoclonal antibodies. Right? He referenced those as miracles. They were cures. All of a sudden, he got better. I mean, he could have died, but for those drugs. Dr. Peter Stein's office approved, made available those drugs to the president and to thousands of others. Peter Stein was fired, was let go. I don't think the president knows that. Someone needs to walk into the Oval Office and say, Mr. President, we just fired the person who may have saved your life.
For those of you that don't know this, in the beginning, Social Security was supposed to be a private number. It was never supposed to be allowed to be used as an identification number. Today, it is your identification number. And again, it violates the law. But that's one thing. Social Security, though, as you'll hear in a second. Well, let me play this for you now. This is Mike Lee. He is a Republican from Utah and was speaking to a group, didn't know he was being taped. And this is, I think, the Trump part of the Republican Party, and especially for the rich, and Elon Musk, too, that had their sights on Social Security all along.
I'm here right now to tell you one thing that you probably haven't ever heard from a politician. It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
All right, so the question now is, who is left in Doge now that Musk is gone? And again, we could talk about Musk and Trump and how that is elevated every day. It doesn't look like these two guys are ever going to talk to each other, much less work with each other again. But let's look who's left in Doge. And I went down and I looked at the people that have been fired. Named Sahil Lavangia. He's published a diary of his time working in the department, chronicling what he did and did not accomplish. And there's an interview with him on a PBS website. And he says, honestly, at the time I was brought into Doge, I had no idea what I was going to do. But what did Doge do on day one? Do you remember? It dismantled USAID. USAID, which was a cornerstone of American diplomacy around the world to help developing nations with everything from getting water supply to roads to building schools. And again, we sold them crops. So when Doge, catch this again about government efficiency, think about this. Doge cut all access to USAID for American farmers to sell their goods. So now American farmers are going bankrupt. They're going to have to sell to larger conglomerates that'll turn these into super farms and use God knows what kind of pesticides on there. Since the FDA, it has no more resources to investigate this, again, thanks to Doge. So, but let's go back to Social Security and talk about the third rail that was Social Security. When I was growing up, nobody would ever talk about going after Social Security because old people vote. And Social Security is, now it seems to be like, you have to be 65 and it may be 66, maybe 68. If they're allowed to push this, and it's Republicans are allowed to push this up to 68 and maybe later 70, they'll save trillions of dollars. It's a very difficult thing that they're doing. And what the Supreme Court has done with the 63 vote, again, has shown, at least me, without a real good explanation in the majority opinion, why they have to have access to this. If there's fraud happening in Medicare, Medicaid, and yes, there is, and if there's fraud happening in Social Security, fine. But we've also heard things from people in the Trump administration who were saying things like, 6-year-olds are on Social Security. And everybody, well, that's horrible. No, it was a survivor's benefit. The parents were dead. I guess the final word on this is the Supreme Court has made a decision that is going to affect a lot of people. How do we know the Trump administration will use this information correctly, judiciously, and not in a way that can harm the American public? Do you trust them? I'm Chip Franklin.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
TikTok.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.